Shrimadbhagavatam, Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON, of Acharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam Ki, their most merciful Lordship Shri Shrimadakunda Bihari Ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev Maya Subhadra Ki, Shri Nataji, Shri Balagopal Ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki, Nitai Go Prem, all glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the Lord Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tito Jayamudiraye. Nasta Prayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. We are reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, Text 26 or 7. 27. And do you remember yesterday the verse you referred me to? Was that from Bhagavad Gita? That was Bhagavatam. Canto 2. Okay. Okay, we'll go through that another time. 27. Takshaka Atmano Murtyum Takshakaratmano Mrityum Dvija Putropasarjitat Dvija Putropasarjitat Prapatasyata Upasrutya Prapatyata Upasrutya Mukta Sangha Padam Hare Mukta Sangha Padam Hare Takshakaratmano Mrityam Takshakaratmano Mrityam Vijaputro Pasarjitat Vijaputro Pasarjitat Prapatsyata Upasrutya Prapatsyata Upasrutya Mukta Sangha Param Hare Mukta Sangha Param Hare Takshakaratmano Mrityam Dvijaputro Pasarjitat Prapatyata Upasrutya Mukta Sangha Padam Hare Takshakaratmano Mrityam Dvijaputro Pasarjitat Prapatyatya Upasrutya Mukta Sangha Param Hare Takshakaratmano Mrityam Dvijaputro Pasarjitat Praptasyata Upasrutya Mukta Sangha Param Hare Taksakat by the snake bird, Atmana of his personal self, Mrityam death, Dvijaputra the son of a Brahman, Upasarjitat being sent by, Prapatyate having taken shelter of, Upasrutya after hearing, Mukta Sangha freed from all attachment, Padam position, Hare of the Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Bhaktivinoda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. After hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird, sent by a son of a Brahman, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrender unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of Him. Please repeat. After hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird, sent by a son of a Brahman, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrender unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him. After hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by a son of a Brahmin, he will get himself freed from all material attachment and surrender unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him. Purport by His Divine Grace, Bhajjaranaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Material attachment and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord go ill together. Material attachment means ignorance of transcendental happiness under the shelter of the Lord. Devotional service to the Lord, while existing in the material world, is a way to practice one's transcendental relation with the Lord. And when it is matured, one gets completely free from all material attachment and becomes competent to go back home, back to Godhead. Maharaj Parikshit, being especially attached to the Lord from the beginning of his body in the womb of his mother, was continuously under the shelter of the Lord. And the so-called warning of his death within 7 days from the date of the curse by the Brahmin's son was a boon to him, to enable him to prepare himself to go back home, back to Godhead. Since he was always protected by the Lord, he could have avoided the effect of such a curse by the grace of the Lord. But he did not take such an undue advantage for nothing. Rather, he made the best use of a bad bargain. For 7 days continuously, he heard Shrimadbhagavatam from the right source, and thus he got shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord by that opportunity. Om Jnanatamrandasya Jana Shalakaya Chakshusmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigirave Namaha. We're being reminded of Maharaj Parikshit having accepted the curse of Shringi, the son of a Brahmin, who was in Yoga Nidra, you might say, form of meditation. And even though the emperor of the world was there to visit him, he was remaining in his trance of transcendence, may it been. And so, just to say that he was there, Maharaj Parikshit took a dead snake, harmless dead snake, and just strung it around his neck. Knowing his being unattached as an ascetic yogi as he was in meditation, the reason he could be in trance was because he was removed from the material body's attachment to the things in this world. So, Maharaj Parikshit, understanding that, left him a marker there that he had been there. And then he went along his way, and his son Shringi took that as a great offense. When his father awoke, after Maharaj Parikshit had left and accepted the curse, Shringi's father awoke, and when he found out what had happened, he instructed his child that it was not an offense that the Emperor Parikshit had committed. But there is a saying in the Bible, all things work together for the good to those that love God and act according to his precepts. So Maharaj Parikshit, knowing he was himself acting out of a will to take darshan from this yogi, and he was not acting out of ill will to do him any harm. He knew in his own innocence that but you could say destiny have its way. So this is the mind and a mentality of a devotee. He's willing to let fate have its way. So I was analyzing the other day, because we have a conversation going on about the aspect of Krishna's personality that is meditated upon by yogis in this state of trance, which is an aspect of his impersonal presence, which is also Krishna's external energy. So there's a difference being made by the internal energy of Krishna and the external energy of Krishna. But when Krishna is comparing himself to various aspects of his personality, you might say, I remember him saying, he is the gambling of chiefs. So this again is referring to, it is not that gambling is something worshipable, that Krishna is making himself like to or equal to. But he is revealing to us, again, the consciousness of the human being who is a gambler, has in his mind where Krishna should be. He has the idea or the concept of his gambling. For the time he is involved in this game of gambling, he has given his will over to the belief that this fate that is going to be coming about by the act of his gambling, not Krishna who is in control of everything, but the act of gambling is there in his mind that he's giving himself over to. But Krishna is saying actually, he's the one who's controlling that anyways. And that even indirectly, because it is by Krishna's laws that karmic reaction comes out. So maybe he just performed some act of piety down the road and he might win something now. But then he uses what he wins to perform some evil act. So he's going to go buy a steak with it. Then he gets an evil return, and the next time he goes to win, he loses. He loses more than he ever won. So this is how a devotee remains free from the acts of karma, and how Krishna is revealing to us also very specifically in this verse that it is the mentality that Maharaj Parikshit has developed in his heart to put Krishna there in place of the gamble that people take with the end of their lives. Now he is taking son of Beta Vyas as his guru, even though he's only 16 years old. He is taking advice from him and surrendering to the instructions being given to him by Beta Vyas, the most advanced spiritual soul on the planet at the time. He made this request to hear Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami. So many aspects of our philosophy are revealed in each and every verse of Bhagavatam. So we have being revealed here astrological projections of the nature of Maharaj Parikshit's personality, and thereby knowing the result of his activities as well. So the science of Bhrigu is being revealed as one. And then as well, it is revealed here that Sukadev Maharaj Yudhishthira is being informed of the future of the child, and this can only be known. This can only be known by those who can foresee the future. So we have being revealed. We just read this as though it's a book being told as a story by someone. We miss out the very detailed fact that this is transcendental knowledge being revealed by a transcendental personality about the most advanced conversation on the entire planet at the time this was going on, to be recorded for thousands and thousands of years to come, as the teachings that would enable mankind to be guided in such a way that the entire earth and its population can experience the kinds of social environment that will be created by the consciousness of the participants that are engaging in the activities of the spiritual energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the inner energy. And see, there's a difference between the end result of any activity that is engaged in with the hope of an end result, and that which is engaged in for the sake of the pleasure of the one the activity is engaged in for, with hoping only to please or bring pleasure to Krishna, in other words, is a different emotional feeling of energy and experience of consciousness than that which is derived by the person who is engaging in an activity for an ordinary human being, or what to speak of for themselves. And most people, the energy they are using is totally for themselves. People are living for themselves or their own, their family, they're extensions of their own body. But by nature, the acts one would engage in of that internal energy of Krishna, because his extension of his love is what that is. Our means of extending our appreciation for who he is, what he has given us, is an extension of his love towards us, going back to him. And so it's like an endless cycle, because we are temporarily here in this material world. Our attraction, our attachments to one another is only of a temporary nature until we get to that eternal realm. But of course, by engaging in the eternal energy, we're creating eternal relationships also, even that with one another. There's a difference between being attached to souls who are bound by the material energy and being attached to those who are bound to this devotional energy of the Supreme Person. And one will give us a connection to the material energy, and one will give us connection to the spiritual energy. And we don't want to fall back again into the illusion of the material energy, which is the belief that this material energy is the satisfaction the soul is going to find its contentment with. The things of this material world are not that which the soul will ever be able to find satisfaction with. And so all these things that Krishna is describing, that all these forms of life put in their minds as that controlling feature among the fish, the shark, among the gamblers, gambling, among the cheaters who are gamblers. So Srila Prabhupada made a statement as well that in this world there are cheaters and the cheated. And in some cases, neither of them know they're engaged in the act of cheating or in the act of being cheated. That is how deep the cheating goes. They are being cheated out of even knowing that they're being cheated. Because everything in this world we are taking to be ours is an illusion. It's not ours. And so every purpose we believe ourselves to have the right to put everything in this world into to serve us, then is an illusion as well. And will only give temporary. It's like a chair. It only gives relief to one who sits on it for the amount of time they spend sitting on it. It's not an eternal place. And the soul is longing for that eternal place, to know that eternal energy of the Supreme, from which all other energies are coming. And now that we find ourselves engulfed in that external material energy, which is this body is made up of that same substance, mucus, pus, and blood. So we do not want to get back into this situation again. So we've got to develop the consciousness of those who are in the spiritual world. And what Lord Chaitanya is saying, the means of doing that is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he has placed all of his spiritual potencies in the chanting of this particular mantra for this particular age. Because in previous ages, as we see this yogi was taking part in when Maharaj Parikshit approached him, this form of meditation was previously the means of going back to Godhead. Even so, in the previous age, in Treta Yuga, it is fire sacrifice that is the means and method given by the Supreme Lord. And as Srila Prabhupada explains, when all these things are brought to their fullness, when Krishna consciousness is brought to its fullness in this golden age, then there's going to be a community involvement with fire sacrifice. So when they had fire sacrifices during Krishna's time, they would bring ghee by the tons. Tons of ghee would be brought in celebration of these various festivals like that. When I first came to the movement, ghee was all we used in our cooking at all. Now, because of the cost, which is why we need to have our own cows, just the economic principle behind the function of a cow itself, eating grass that doesn't take anything to grow, really. Just the seeds are there. And when the seeds are eaten by the cow, it's replanting itself. It's replanting the grass that it's eating, going around in a cycle. And so then its body is of that same nature. The chlorophyll that it takes producing milk gives to its child that which its body needs in totality, the same way we can use and take advantage of the milk from the mother. But if man intermingles his own ideas, consciousness, pure consciousness coming from Krishna, thinking about the things that Krishna gives us advice to think about, purifies our mind and puts us in a state of being able to act upon concepts not conjured up by the mind. The mind in and of itself doesn't have the means of producing knowledge of Krishna. It has to be enlightened. The soul has to be given this knowledge by another soul who has the knowledge to give, in other words. This is our process. Self-realization, God-realization doesn't come just by someone going out and thinking about it. Just like we see with Dhruva Maharaj, he went out thinking about it, but by the guidance of Narada Muni, he was given instruction. So similarly, all the acts we are finding ourselves engaged in Krishna consciousness, we can know the following of the instructions of the spiritual master have been established since before the earth was even in existence. All these principles that in Krishna consciousness were advised to engage in were principles that existed in the spiritual world before there were any material. There was a time when there were no material manifestations, when everything is breathed in by Mahavishnu, then it all enters back into his body. Wow. See, it would seem there may be some even elevated, more elevated experiences of consciousness going on during that time, just the fact that there is no more material manifestation, external energy. But if we want the experience of the external energy, it is there. It's like Krishna gives people the ability to believe he died. He got shot in the foot. He gives people to believe whatever they want to believe. That's the problem. He'll allow us to believe whatever we want. That's the kindness of God. So, Guru, it is said, is heavy. Heavy means he hasn't eaten more prasadam than everybody else had. Of course, in some cases, by instruction of the Guru, I found this quite fascinating and humorous as well. A guru being told, being requested by his disciple, Maharaj, these girls are all wanting me. What can I do? Maharaj says, take a little more prasadam than usual, because these girls don't like fat boys. So, following the instructions of Guru, see, even that might be looked at as something to frown upon, that can be something that you would laugh at. It can actually help the advancement of the devotee that follows the instructions of the Guru. So it is in following the instructions of Guru that we find solidity in our faith and strength in our characters to be able to carry on the Guru's instructions. In understanding and applying the principle of the fact that the Guru has given us what we need now to associate and develop that association with Krishna that is of that eternal nature. So when we talk about Krishna having friends and relationships with gopis and gopas and very elevated states of consciousness, this is pure love for God that we're seeing, and being spoken of as they were children. It's very easy for us to forget that these are souls that have existed with Krishna eternally. Eternally they've been with Krishna. So that bit of a vision we're able to see through the study of these pastimes is but a glimpse. Like Krishna says, like a drop of nectar. He showed Arjuna on the battlefield his ability to absorb all the energy of the universe, to the extent that Arjuna was begging him, please, I can't contain this energy, is too much for me to be able to witness. Please return back to your original form. And so we develop relationship with Krishna, allowing him to be the controller of it. Then we have to give up our own pursuits, that means. And that's the only way false ego can be broken. False ego is the pursuit of the soul for its own device. Gonna make up my own way. A famous, very famous song, Frank Sinatra. I did it my way. And that's the problem in society. Doing it my way and looking at my way as some kind of a great liberty given by God. I did it my way. No. Following the ways precept by precept, following that which was established before the foundation of the world, following in the footsteps of those who have come before us, that is, quote unquote, the way. And if we think we can devise, we will be subject to the end result of what the mind can devise. The mind is not spiritual in and of itself, even though it's of a subtle nature. It's not of a spiritual nature. It is just as pliable as the soul, can take up any form. The mind can take up any thoughts and be contaminated. The soul can contaminate its consciousness by will. So the soul brings itself to experiences in this world by consciousness. And all the activities then that it engages in, it forms thought patterns about its own activities. And so most people engaging in activities, while they're engaging in the activity, they're thinking about the reward they're going to get, right? And depending on how big they are evaluating that reward in their mind, they are determining their sense of happiness will be satisfied, right? The bigger the paycheck, the better the smile. Bigger the paycheck, the happier the participant. But see, in Krishna consciousness, the way we think is of a completely different nature. If I can put a smile on Krishna's face, then I will be happy. And all we have to do that is follow the instruction that Krishna gives, that he reveals to us, is what makes him happy for us to do. And so we can know at every moment what to do to make God happy. And then when we do that enough, wow, then we become really experiencing what we are, able to know the substance, the eternal substance we are made of. And it goes beyond the concept of a superhuman being. It goes beyond that. When Krishna says of himself that the soul is more powerful than millions of suns, it gives us the ability to conceptualize in our mind that place where we come from. That every living entity is billions of times larger than this whole universe is. Just like the perspiration that's leaving our body now does so in little tiny droplets that it's microscopic. Can't even see it. And yet, this is a form the universes are taking out of the body of the creative form of Mahavishnu. And he, in that place, is doing that in a body similar to those that are approaching him for communication and association. But he is in Yoga Nidra. A Yoga Nidra, much like that, instructed to be engaged in by those who are following meditation as the process for knowing God. But we, being given the process of chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, have included in it meditation. Because the chanting is not the only thing we're doing. We're engaging every single one of the senses of the body while we are engaged in this chanting. The ears are hearing. If we're in the temple, and we have been in the temple since an offering was done, then our nose is smelling. Narada Muni says that we smell in the temple that has been offered as a gift to Krishna in the form of incense, we should smell and realize it is similar to the smell of Krishna's body. That's how Krishna's body smells. Yeah. So the experiences in the body that the senses of the body are having can be of a transcendental nature. So if a devotee is engaged in spiritual activities, when he's thinking about the engagement he'd like to once again engage in by experience which he's previously had, he's meditating on that spiritual energy of Krishna that Krishna gave him the ability to perform. But when a person in the material energy, engaged in the material energy, takes thoughts about the reward he will get for performing the activities, it is a manifestation of his lust to enjoy God's wife, to enjoy Lakshmi Devi. She manifests in this world as the energy that we put out, as the external energy we put out to derive some pleasure. And she is that pleasure potency of Krishna that comes out of Krishna's body, much like Ram also. And the sound vibration of Ram is that pleasure potency of Krishna that is included. So that pleasure which people are looking for in the accumulation of their wealth can be satisfied in the purest form by this chanting. And that's also including, in other words, the experience of true wealth accumulation is also there included in this chanting of Krishna's name, because it's an accumulation of that which we have no means of otherwise obtaining, which is the length of our life we spend here. So with every breath you use to chant Hare Krishna, it is not deducted, even though the time it took you to spend using that breath is not deducted from the amount of breaths you have left to spend on this earth. So every one of those breaths used to chant Hare Krishna is adding to the amount of time. Time I am, Krishna says. And there he is in the form of his time, manifesting to us the time we gain. The time we gain by chanting Krishna's name. But not because of that. See, all of these are fringe benefits. Krishna's fringe benefits are better than the biggest paychecks. They say, in the fringe benefits, you got insurance, life insurance. In case you fall down and bump your head, there'll be somebody there to put a patch on your head for you. But with Krishna, what is Krishna's insurance? Those who are following the instructions that Krishna gives, he says, they will come to me. They will come to him. We will go to him. This is his words. Then everything in this life that we're experiencing now, that we consider to be the greatest experiences, we will see to be but little tiny specks of that experience we will have when we can see face to face with Krishna and talk face to face with Krishna. God, what an anticipating thought process we can have in regards to leaving these bodies. See, this is the difference. Maharaj Parikshit, this advanced state of love for Krishna that he has in looking to the time in which it's described that he will be leaving his body, which most people would be in panic of. What do they call it? Panic attack. They have what is called now panic attacks, which is a breakdown in character building. Rather than producing strong characteristics in human beings, this academia is producing weaklings, incapable of being able to support themselves. They've got to depend on the government. They've got to depend on others and everything else around them, and blame everything else around them for the fact that they are going through circumstances that they don't know how to cope with. This is the breakdown of society. And it looks as though, to me, from where I sit, that this society will not be healed of its own ways until it's totally broken down. People are so illusioned to the idea of their own concepts of what is right and wrong and what is perfect and what is imperfect, that they're walking right off the cliff. They're walking right into the eternal attachment that love for things in this world has brought us to be able to be manifesting once again in a material body. And this should be a warning to us, coming directly from the Supreme Person from whom we directly came at one point, to tell us we got an opportunity to get out. Here's the ticket chant these names, and the transport is paid for. The ticket is boarding ticket pass. The last breath you breathe, you will go out on that breath. And hopefully, by consciousness developed now, that consciousness that we develop now about Krishna will carry us into that next realm, much more significant, to be able to take part in those eternal activities that continue beyond this realm, into that eternal realm, in which all this is microscopic. So, that is our anticipation, looking forward in this life. Not only for everyone in this world to experience a higher form of consciousness, a higher form of bliss and love, ultimately pure love, but to get out of this realm entirely and go back to the realm which is the eternal dwelling. And everything that we can experience here, as high as it may seem, is but a taste, a little tiny pinch of what you can anticipate will be in the next environment, perfect eternal environment. Nothing contaminated can enter there. John, any comments, any questions, any realization?
Thank you, brother.
John. Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai, Maharaj Pariksha ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.